Hi, good morning. Yes, I've been away for a while, but I'm back now. I just had some personal affairs that I had to deal with, and those are now settled. And I'm back to my rum reviews. And today we are going to be looking at another run of the Rum Advent Calendar from 2023 that was issued by Mr. and Mrs. Rum. Now, the 2024 Advent Calendar is already out and about, and people are starting to post reviews on it. But I'm a little bit behind times, and therefore I'm still working on the 2023 one. This is probably the second to last review that I'm going to do. So let's get straight to it. The Burdekin Distillery is a small distillery in Queensland in Australia, and it was founded around 2020. And initially, they were actually a water bottling company, but I guess around COVID times, they figured out they had to find a way to make some extra cash flow or to experiment with some other stuff. And they decided, since they liked rum and they were living in Queensland, where there is really good cane available very close by, that they would start to do their own rum thing as well. And initially, they didn't actually have a still of their own, as far as I'm aware, and they started to get some stocks from elsewhere to produce the rums that they made. And this is one of them, even though it came out in 2023. It must have been resting since 2021 when it was made, apparently. However, I have been asked not to mention where it came from, aside from the fact that it was stocks that were brought in. And I actually do know where it is from because, well, I found out. But be that as it may, let's just leave it as it is. Right now, what we've got here is a unaged cane juice agricole style rum that is bottled at 51%. Now, they call it the Wild Child, which is, I think, a really kind of cute name. And the reason why they called it that is because when they were transporting the cane juice to the distillery, it had spontaneously, as is normal, started to ferment. And by the time they got around to putting their own little yeast into it, they had something that really had quite an intense agricole style flavor. And they thought, well, this is actually pretty good. We think we're going to do it just as it is. And so they issued 350 bottles of it, which I think is probably on sale right now. The rum itself is made from cane juice. It's got a fermentation period of, I think, about a week or so. And it really is quite an intense little number. I mean, if you try to smell it, it's definitely a pot still rum. There's some rubber notes in there. There is quite a bit of a sort of like a faint swimming pool chlorine note to it that is really kind of interesting. But there are also standard agricole style notes. So we are talking about pears, watermelon, papaya, that kind of thing, a little bit of herbaceous grassiness to it. And down at the back end, there's a little bit of citrus, which I quite like. And strangely enough, some apple cider and the smell of faintly burning leaves in a bushfire, I guess you could say. And that does make it interesting, but it does go off a little bit to the side in a way that we would not normally expect. That makes it interesting. That does not make it bad. Let me make that quite clear. Right? When you taste it, yep, a lot of that good. The chlorine is now gone. You are getting the same sort of light, watery fruit. You're getting grasses. You are getting quite a bit of papaya and pears, sort of like a tart soursop or a yogurt that doesn't have very much sugar in it, that kind of thing. It does have 51% proof, so it does kind of come up a little bit firm on the tongue, but in no way is that a disqualifier. This thing really is a very, very, very nice rum. Uh, Over and above all of that, there really isn't much I can tell you about it. Now, when I post the review, which I've already done, I've put some company notes behind it. The important thing to understand is that in 2024, they got a new still, I think it's like 1,000 liter pot still, hybrid still, sorry, which allows them a lot more control over the reflux, and they're going to be able to produce some very interesting stuff. Now, the company does produce a molasses rum, it does produce an aged rum. They've won awards left, right, and center. But for my money, this one is really quite interesting, and I really quite like it a lot. I am going to score it 84 points. I think it might actually scrape 85 for some people. It probably works like a banging daiquiri, I think. Over and above all of that, there really isn't much more to see aside from the fact that this rum takes its place among many of the agricole style rums that are being made with increasing frequency by Australian rum makers like Winding Road or Husk or Sunshine or others like of that nature. And it really points to a very interesting development in the way that Australian rums are going to be made. Now, whether we can ever get this in the West or in Europe or in North and South America is questionable. But for those who ever get a handle on the Advent calendar or even a taste of this, I would strongly recommend you give it a try. It really is a nice piece of work. I'll leave it there for now. I'm trying to keep these things shorter rather than longer, but I've given you all the details you want. And if you have any comment on it, by all means, let me know. Over and above that, I think this is just something that we should try if we can possibly get it, and it does Australia no dishonor at all. It's a great piece of work. That's it for today, and have a nice day, everybody. Bye bye.